Hello, AP Psychology students, and welcome to our last two sections of Chapter 7 on Thinking and Intelligence. We're looking at the origins of intelligence today and then animal intelligence. Yay, we're going to talk about your doggy. So, are you smart or are you not smart because of genes or your environment? How much is nature? Behavior geneticists conduct heritability studies, and a lot of intellectuals or a lot of intelligence is linked to DNA. Genes and individual differences. High IQ scores are highly heritable, about a 0.50, which is about the same as your personality in terms of heritability. Not as much as height. Height is a 0.70. Adults, though, are less affected by their environment. So if their environment is pretty stable, it's pretty much the same as their parents. It nears 0.6 to 0.80 in terms of how much you get your intelligence from your parents. Identical twins, IQs are highly correlated, even if they've been separated and raised in different homes. Adopted children have IQs that usually match their biological parents versus their adopted parents. The question of group differences. Intellectual differences within groups are at least partly genetic. It does not mean that the difference between groups are genetic. So within certain ethnicities, certain races, there is some difference within the groups in terms of genetics. But if you look overall, there is not a single race or ethnicity that is smarter in terms of they're born that way. Now, societal wise, culturally, some ethnicities, some groups value education and push it more, and so maybe their children achieve more in school and score higher later on the SAT and other standardized tests. But in terms of just intelligence and what you're born with, across the board, ethnicities, races, whatever you want to call it, nationalities, pretty much the same. And when you take out the environmental factors. Now, that doesn't mean that there's nations that are smarter or dumber than others. These are the national IQ scores. United States, we're 98. The average score is 100. We're a little below average. The highest are Singapore, South Korea, Japan, Italy, Iceland, Mongolia. India is way down there. But once again, that's factoring in so many other things than just heritability, than DNA. A lot of that has to do with the environment and schooling and society and culture and how they promote things. So the environment, though intelligence is highly heritable, it is modifiable by the environment. You can nurture it, you can make it grow, you can increase intelligence, or you can actually extinguish it. Not totally, but you can discourage it and make it less and less. And so it can lead to reduced mental abilities. If you don't stimulate the mind, if you don't let it grow, if you don't challenge your mind, the intellect can go. Poor prenatal care can really affect a baby before it's even has a chance to get going in this world. Poor prenatal care, especially if there's the use of drugs and alcohol while a woman is pregnant, can really severely limit the intelligence of a child. Malnutrition is another one, especially if you're growing up, you're not getting enough food to eat. It can limit the growth of your brain and the intellect. Exposure to toxins, drugs, other chemicals, stressful family circumstances. These are all adverse effects to intelligence, and so it's like you have this potential to grow in terms of intelligence, but those prenatal care, malnutrition, toxins, stress in the family can reduce that potential. Conversely, healthy and stimulating environments can raise their performance. So your potential can grow and you can actually become more intelligent than the previous generation. IQs in developed nations have been climbing for 3 decades or 3 generations. And it might be because, they're exposed to more educational games and puzzles and devices that kind of train kids, or it just might be that kids are getting smarter. They've seen similar patterns in a developing nation like Kenya, where 3 generations in a row, they're getting higher and higher intelligence. They're getting smarter. And so some people think that we're devolving because the lower rungs of society have more children, whereas those elite college educated people have to delay having children, so they have less kids. As a world, developing and developed nations, IQ is going up in the last 3 generations. So hopefully we're not like the guy here that's too dumb, too stupid to use his hat. Motivation, hard work, and intellectual success. Intelligence helps, but success also depends on you getting off your rear end and doing something about it. Drive, determination, the want to succeed. If you compare similar IQ scores of successful and unsuccessful men, you find that it's all over the place. It's all, I mean, some people have very great IQs and they don't do much. Some people that are very successful in business and politics, they don't have the best intellect, but they work hard. They apply themselves. In 1921, Lewis Terman had a group of kids, 1,500 gifted kids, which they called termites after him. And they found out that these gifted kids grew up to be pretty happy people. They all were gifted intellectually. They had superior intellect. But what they found is going through and looking for trends and what is success. It's not just intellect. It's they're more ambitious. People that are successful are more ambitious. They're socially active. They're more outgoing. They have many interests. They're not just focused on one or two things. And most importantly, probably, they were encouraged by their parents to pursue their dreams, to do what is wonderful and what is great and what they wanted to do. Motivation. Chuck Norris doesn't need motivation. Motivation needs Chuck Norris. So let's look at animals. How smart are animals? Animal intelligence. Wolfgang Kohler tempted chimpanzees with bananas just out of reach. He'd hang them from the ceiling and, have boxes around and see how long it would take, chimpanzees, monkeys to figure out how to get to the bananas. And solutions came to the animals after they sat quietly. And so they found out that, there is a level of intelligence in terms of animals. Dogs have a certain level of vocabulary. Chimps and gorillas can learn up to like 500 different signs. Dolphins are highly intelligent. So cognitive ethology is the study of cognitive processes in animals. Animals have cognition. They have a thought process, but they don't have metacognition. They can't think about their thought process. They can't modify, okay, this is how I normally solve the problem. Let's tweak it and try something different. Animals are capable of that. That's something that sets humans apart. Chimps have a very rudimentary sense of numbers. Some researchers believe that the great apes and other possibly elephants and dolphins understand how their own minds and the kids of others work. Not sure, and that might be a typo there, sorry. If we go further, the vocal tract of apes doesn't allow for speech. They just don't have the right vocal cords to do what we do. But chimps and other primates can learn various geometric shapes. They can learn on a magnetic board. They can learn Moses words. Coco the gorilla mastered hundreds of signs from the American Sign Language. And so Coco the gorilla could do all the signing and could communicate. Kanzi, a bonobo, learned to understand English words, short sentences, and keyboard symbols. And then dolphins can learn the difference between different particular requests. There's even an African gray parrot named Alex who showed cognitive abilities with the researcher Irene Pepperberg. And so there's examples of animals learning and demonstrating language and knowledge of numbers and things like that. It's just that they lack what we have in terms of producing the speech and then the vocal cords and the tongues and the way that we do things. And that's something that is fundamentally human, is our language capabilities. That's something that's innate. But they do understand words. They understand our vocabulary. Your dog does. And so they are very intelligent creatures. They just can't enunciate like we do. Here's a smart animal here. Here you go.
Yes.
Oh my God. Do you have a microphone or something?
A microphone on my
okay,
shirt.
all right, here we go. And what will Odie say?
He says I love you.
All right, Odie will say hello.
Odie, I love you. I love you.
So there you go. Animals can mimic. That's what parrots are doing. They're mimicking, and it's usually conditioning. It's usually rewards, positive reinforcement that can do that. So anthropomorphism is falsely attributing human qualities to animals. A lot of people do this. And then anthropodenial is a tendency to think mistakenly that human beings have nothing in common with animals. So some people give animals way too much credit. Some people think that animals, they're not like humans. They can't do what we can do. And so it is interesting kind of looking at the animal kingdom. And you can do a lot more into this. We just dabble a little bit. We can learn a lot from the animal kingdom. We focus mainly on humans in terms of psychology, but a lot of researchers go into animal stuff. That's all I have. I hope you enjoyed this. you have any questions, let me know. Happy learning.